Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter Film Crew podcast. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found as 16 millimeter Film Crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched The Substance, directed by Caroline Forget. Elisabeth Sparkle, renowned for an aerobic show, faces a devastating blow on her 50th birthday as her boss fires her. Amid her distress, a laboratory offers her a substance which promises to transform her into an enhanced version of herself. This movie stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. So, Dale, tell us your thoughts about this one.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I did not expect myself to enjoy it as much as I did. I saw clips of it here and there featuring Margaret Qualley. I wasn't really aware of Demi Moore's involvement in it. I feel like Demi Moore being in this movie is a perfect pick to illustrate this point and issue in Hollywood. Um, I love like the off-kilterness, the on the nose calling of uh Dennis Quaid's character Harvey the whole time. Very topical with that. Yes, the messaging strong, and perfect, and me, I'm not a big fan of body horror, but I thought, but as far as well, it's when you find thematic themes that match their stories, this is like one of those that match perfectly together. Unlike I'll say unlike body horror for the sake of horror, like to tame kind of thing. But this, I think the drama they picked and the subject matter were a perfect marriage of it, and sometimes you don't get that a lot in the industry. This reminded me also a bit of what was it Black Mirror with Miley Cyrus, where they put in her with those kind of things, those topical issues. I love this movie a lot. I do think Margaret Qualley might have been miscast, but even what I feel of her being miscast, she's still an amazing job with the character and her performance as well.
Okay, you're gonna have to expound on that when we come back around.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I Everyone kept talking about it, and I think sometimes I have the thing where it's like people are just like obsessed with a certain movie. It kind of makes you not want to watch it. I
Mhm.
don't know. But I was like, I will get around to this eventually because it is being so talked about, and obviously now because it's been recognized so much by like all these different awards and stuff. But I have to say that like this movie is really good, and it's for me, it kind of falls apart in third act. But other than that, like I was thoroughly enjoying myself. I thought it was hilarious. Like as soon as it starts, it's like, yeah, this is definitely made by a French person because like I don't know, there's just certain things like if you've watched enough of those movies, like it feels very familiar. So it was like, okay, we're on some familiar ground here with this one. But I think the quick editing that like club like dance club like synth score like the colors and how the production design like all of it works really well to like create a very like sensory overload, very intense
Mhm.
experience, um but very enjoyable at the same time and relatable, like very relatable in a way that I was not expecting this movie to be at all.
Yeah.
I think that I really enjoy, I guess, especially like when the French women decide to get behind the camera because they have a way of making these very like out of the box kind of films that like once you actually watch it, it ends up hitting harder than you expected it to hit. And I feel like this was definitely one of those films where it's
Yeah.
like I went in thinking that it was going to be one thing and then it was that thing, but it was also like these other things. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed the other things of it. But yeah, Demi Moore, like icon queen, never been done before. Like she really is so amazing in this. Like I don't know. There's I'll wait until we get like into it. But like even with the prosthetics and stuff, I feel like she still gave like such a amazing like emotional
Mhm.
performance to this film. Where like on the surface of it, it's like Demi Moore is a beautiful woman, even for someone who is like past middle age, I guess.
Yeah, she's
And
about
she's like 62.
62. Yeah, yeah.
Looks incredible. So I feel like kind of going into it, you're kind of just like, well, why would I feel sympathy for someone who is like very beautiful, like feeling like they're not, and they have to like try to make a better version of themselves when who they are already is like a gorgeous woman.
Mhm.
But I feel like the way that they broke it down, and especially Demi Moore, who like I have not seen in a movie in such a long time. Like it's been a long time since I've seen her in something.
Mhm.
And she used to be the woman. Like she used to be the lady who was in all the movies. Like
Yeah.
so it's just very like her own career in conjunction with this film and like the character she plays is to me perfect casting. Like it's very meta in a sort of weird way where it's like what is happening in real life kind of was reflected back into the film.
Mhm.
And I thought Margaret Qualley did a great job as well because the role that she has is kind of difficult, and I feel like she was able to like find something in that felt like honest at least. Like it's a tricky role to play when because you're not like really a person, you're kind of like a duplicate.
Mhm.
So it's like how do you play that but still like keep the audience moving with you as you know the film continues to like unravel. So like yeah, I thought everyone did a good job. Dennis Quaid being in this again, another meta casting because that man is horrible. So like perfect. I don't know if they knew that he was as horrible as he was at that point. I feel like they probably did, but like yeah, it was yeah, the casting made sense to me in my head, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Like yeah, like Dennis Quaid, like in the last like 4 years, has become real off, real hinge. Not, not Mel Gibson level hinge, but still there. But yeah, like I said, like Demi Moore is like you mentioned, Demi Moore as an actress and her personal life kind of do match the story of her character a bit. Like her career was really from like the 80s all the way to almost the I'll say late 90s, middle 2000s ish, where she was almost appearing in everything, even with the movies that didn't do as well, like G.I. Jane and stuff like that. She was still had a presence in the social zeitgeist, of being this actress, being known for her beauty. And so it's kind of very apropos that she's playing this character who suffers from the same problem. And also been the fact that Demi Moore is one of those Hollywood like starlets. I wouldn't say of yesteryear, but of a different era. Like she's a brat pack, so she was always
Yeah.
from jump. She was in front of the cameras. The limelight was always there. She had no privacy. But you see now she's older. She's more, I wouldn't say recluse, but more not front facing. She's more private. Whereas this kind of also mimics that fact as her character is like, I'm just gonna chill at home, even though I have a chance to revitalize my career, do different things, you know, now that I'm not doing the show or whatever. She just like gets like into a depression and stays at home and watches the TV while her alter ego is living the life she wants to live. And that duality thing of you guys are both one, there's a balance, kind of thing, where that id ego superhero kind of thing kind of fits in. But Margaret Qualley to me, like I'm going back to my original, I do think she did a phenomenal job. Margaret Qualley is a very good character actor. You can give her very loud characters, and like I'm a big person. Like I love to see not just actors project and act vocally, but their face, their animations. Like she is really well animated. She can sell subtly. She can sell silliness. She can sell all those expressive emotions that a lot of actors can't. She can do a range of emotions really well. But I do feel like for me, Margaret Qualley comes off as cute. And for me, cute can do a lot for you. Like you don't gotta be hot. If you cute, I will love you forever. Cute doesn't die to me. Like cute doesn't die. Like
Mhm.
if you're cute, that's fine. But like I feel like the parody nature of the movie, they were trying to oversell the sexiness and hotness of her, which I don't think she has, which also goes along with your style of the editing when it came to the shot selection editing and everything for Margaret Qualley's character. Very much reminded me of like Britney Spears era Christina Aguilera pop music, but Margaret Qualley herself does not give that vibe, and I do think they tried too hard, and which comes up almost comedic in a way to
Mhm.
sell her sexiness. So that's like the only glaring error for the movie for me, really.
Okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying because I also felt maybe not. Yeah, I get it because like she isn't Margaret Qualley to me is very beautiful, but
Yeah,
like in terms of like a sexy person,
yeah,
like to me Demi Moore is a sexy person.
yeah, yeah,
Um I wasn't I wasn't feeling it. And maybe that just goes down to like aesthetics, like what do I personally
yeah,
find sexy? Versus like what other people watch. Because I was watching other people's reaction to it because like it is really fun. Like I can't imagine what watching this in a theater was like, but like I was watching other people's reaction to this movie because it's one of those movies where it's like you can't wait
yeah,
till someone sees that part. But for the people I was watching it with, they were gay white men and they were like obsessed with her.
yeah,
So I don't know. I guess it's just a matter of taste. Like I just personally did not find her sexy in that way. I thought she looked
yeah.
good. Like I was like, okay, yeah, hair extensions. Like I like you in this photo shoot. Like they made you look like cute. But like in
She,
terms of sex, yeah, it wasn't. I was not.
she, Margaret Qualley. It's not a. Like I said, I'm gonna say it's not a knock on her. She's so
You know,
cute. Cute is attractive. Like I'm saying, if cute is forever, like you cannot not be cute as you age, whatever. But like I feel like Margaret Qualley for me was very like, and it's fun. Like very I'm gonna use a Britney Spears reference. Britney Spears, wholesome girl next door, cute kind of way. And she
mm.
reminds me kind of like how people weren't saying Anne Hathaway wasn't good looking in the Princess Diaries when she really looks the same throughout the movie. It's just the accessories change, that kind
Yeah,
of thing. So
yeah, I agree with that. But I don't know. Everyone in the movie believed that she was this hot. But I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like hot baby, like someone who
yeah,
kind of just looks like very attractive in a way of like they remind you of your kid, which is weird, but this is not how I feel. I'm just saying
yeah,
this is what's out there. Um, and that is a kind of I don't know. There's like a because I was thinking about that as when I was watching Anora.
yeah,
I was like, I don't know if Mikey Madison is like this sex goddess that we're supposed to like believe that she is.
yeah,
Because to me, like she kind of just looks like a person who I probably knew at school. Like it's not,
yeah.
but I feel like that type of person is actually like
The person would
something
probably do that. Yeah.
a person who people find attractive in a way where it's like I don't know. I can't explain. I'm trying to explain it in a way that's like not.
It's like okay,
But
you have you ever watched not another teen movie?
no, the one on
Okay,
Disney Channel.
no, not another teen movie is
Oh,
kind of the era of where they would spoof popular movies, and there was a
yes.
time where they would like this is when 10 Things I Hate About You came out. There were a
Mm,
lot of teen movies, and there is one where Freddie Prinze Jr. is like a lead character in the movie. And have you ever heard the song Janie's Got a Gun? Dang,
maybe.
I'm dating myself with that one,
Yeah,
but
you're.
it's a joke in the movie, and the girl who plays Janie, I forgot her name. I think I forgot her name. I apologize. It's an actress I should know, and she's a typical nerdy girl with glasses, and she wears overalls, and she does they give her the makeover scene that every teen movie has, and all they do is take off her glasses, and the guy sees
Yeah.
like, oh wow, you're hot now. That's market quality. like,
Mm,
like you do up her hair a bit, you give her a little makeup, like dang, you kind of look you kind of look like a baddie, but you've always looked like a baddie. It's just your accessories. So yeah,
yeah. It's very like to me, it's something that someone would look up on like OnlyFans or something like that, where it's like a special category of women, like a woman who looks like this is what
yeah,
I think they were going for because apparently that's a thing.
yeah.
Um, anyway,
Pam's really
I will
cool.
not linger on that
Yeah,
anymore. Let's talk about the movie.
yeah.
So the substance thing is like basically you get this like you get this medical aid kit.
Mhm.
No instructions, by the way. I wanted to point that out. There was not a director's manual of like
They're
how to do
simple, but
this.
they're simple though.
What you mean that's simple?
You activate, and then you have the you have the stabilizer, then you have the nutrient feed for 7 days, and then you have the switch which
I'm
transfers
sorry.
blood.
There were massive needles in there. Were you just supposed to know to inject that here? Were you
I
supposed to
mean,
know
if I'm
to
looking at the box, I'm like, it's a
put the big
needle.
needle in the back? Like how were you supposed to know how to do these things? There
Fair,
was no
fair.
instruction
All
manual.
right, fair,
I just need
fair,
to point that out. That there was no
fair.
instruction manual. but fully like, here's a needle and thread, sew this person up. Like that's insane because what? Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, yeah, so you activate, you get it, you insert that juice into you, and then what is it? The sustainer or stabilizer where it's
Yeah,
like your other self, that's how it keeps them going or whatever.
yeah.
And then you get the food and stuff. But like the premise is like every 7 days you have to switch back.
Hmm.
But the Margaret Qualley, so like Sue, that character, Demi's duplicate, younger self,
Hmm.
like she just doesn't want to switch back because she's enjoying her life too much. And her kind of living in the world is taking so much away from Demi that she ends up being like this old, decrepit, like woman. Like her, what, even though she was like 50, by the third act, she is like in, I don't even know, because I know people who are in their 90s. Like she was like a ghoul. I know, like she was insane. So that's the premise. I feel like one thing that I really related to was the fact that this Demi Moore is a very beautiful person who feels like she needs to take this because she wants to be younger. Like that's why she got fired from her job. Like she wasn't young anymore. But at first I was like, well, I don't understand like why you would want to do this or why like as you are aging because Sue is like abusing this substance, why don't you stop? But like somewhere in the middle of that movie, I was just like, no, this actually makes perfect sense because so many beautiful women are getting a lot of procedures done.
Hmm.
Like if you watch any award show, look at any celebrity photo, like people who are naturally gorgeous, they're getting Botox, they're getting this kind of thing nipped and tucked here, and they're
Hmm.
getting XYZ, and it's like, why? You look great, but I don't think that matters. Like, however I feel about that person's appearance is is kind of like irrelevant in terms of how they view themselves. And that the fact that she's like, you know what, I hate myself. Like, I don't think I'm attractive. There's nothing that anyone can do to like change that because her entire career it was based off of her looks.
Hmm.
So like she felt like she was loved and appreciated because of how she looked. She only calls back that random guy because he said that she was beautiful, not because she actually wanted to hang out with him. So it's all like if your job and your life is so like based around your appearance, like it does give you this like warped sense of yourself where it's like, well, I have to continue to push and promote these insane beauty standards that no one in the world could ever live up to or ever actually execute. It's not sustainable. Like it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I just feel like, but that's so real because it's happening literally every day.
Yeah.
I was watching Grammys footage yesterday and I was like, Beyonce, what's going on? Like, I don't know. But I don't have no idea how a 40 something year old Beyonce feels about herself when she looks in the mirror. I have no idea about that.
Yeah.
All I can say is from my own perspective, you don't need to do any of this stuff because you look amazing.
Yeah.
So, like, but that's very real. I feel like at a certain point, like, when you're in these kinds of industries where it's like your job is based around how you look, you're going to do whatever you can to continue to sustain that appearance, even though you are going to age like we all are because we're human.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. I feel like that's one of the things that this movie highlights is just how like the in the pursuit of trying to be beautiful, you end up being ugly because you're trying to sustain these beauty standards and for what? Like these the movie is like littered with like old decrepit men who look terrible.
Hmm.
And it's like but they still have jobs, they're still in positions of power and for women it's just like not the same thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially like I think now with the advent of social media and the internet the last couple 30 or 20 years, issues like body dysmorphia have become really more prevalent. People weren't really everybody always had concerns by the way they looked, but the rate at which people are depressed and incapacitated by being hit across the head with these celebrities and gorgeous people, has really come to her. And also, some of these celebrities themselves also have body dysmorphia because I have to look this way in order to get this role. Like Henry Cavill when he talks about his time as Superman or whatever, any other male actor, like they said, oh, the scenes where they're like shirtless or naked is like when they're at their weakest because they're like Hugh Jackman's like, yeah, my body's dehydrated. They like have me eating nothing for like X amount of days, so muscle definition is there. They talk about the extremes they go to, like Marvel actors go to make them look the way they do. So it's on both sides, but I do think it impacts women a lot more socially. Yeah, and like Demi's issues, I think, like I said before, go back to like the whole. I think this like I'm a big enjoyer of like psychology in cinema, like the psychological themes. Like I said, this movie kind of goes back to the it always radiates balance. And like the psychology thing I was always interested in, even when I was college, like the concept of the ego, super ego, kind of three in one, like everything requires a balance kind of thing. Like to me, like I could see Sue right away as the it. Instant gratification. I look good. I got beauty. I want to go have fun party. To me, Moore's character is more of the ego. Like she wants to do all these things, but her reality is kind of skewed, where she doesn't see herself and is able to go and do these things where and then their company always says there's a balance too, and that's where the superhero comes in and kind of balances both the id and ego, and as like a compass. And throughout the whole process, they don't really keep that balance up, even to the point where she meets the she re-meets the nurse in the hospital, who is like another Sue almost, helping people at the hospital. And she meets the old guy. He's like, it sometimes feel like you're all alone when you have to spend those 7 days by yourself doing nothing. And he's like, I just wanted to see how you were doing. Because I think he was also reaching out for somebody who understood what they were going through
Mm.
as well, which is also somebody she didn't have. Like she said, she calls a guy once because he says she's beautiful. But every moment she's about to she step away from the mirror, go out the front door, she sees herself in something. And that obsessive compulsive saying, I'm not as beautiful as I think I am, stops her from going outside until she like gorged herself on French cuisine.
Yeah, that for me was like that to me is the best scene in the movie. Like the most emotional, heartbreaking, relatable scene is when she's trying to go on this date, but she can't because she's like looking at herself in the mirror and trying to fix this and trying to fix that. And then she's also looking at Sue, right? She's looking at Sue as she's passed out. She's looking at Sue in the billboard. Like she's just surrounded by this images of someone who's supposed to be a better version of her. And like that comparison of like, it really is a real thing. Like, some days you can go and look in the mirror and say, you know what? I look good today, I look cute, and you're ready to step out. And then there are days where you're just like, I look disgusting and I'm going to hide under my covers. Like, that's real. So
Yeah.
like I was just like, yeah, I feel that. And the way that they edit it as well, where it's like she's like trying to fix herself, but she's also like looking at the clock, so it keeps switching back to the clock. It's like, okay, it's getting closer to 8 o'clock, like you should be at the restaurant by now. But she just like literally cannot leave her house. Like I feel like this movie very much is about it's about self-image, it's about like patriarchy and obviously and what that does to women, and especially it's about entertainment, but it's also about like depression, addiction, like all of that stuff is in there.
Mm,
And I really like that it's not like super in your face, but the scenes where Sue is like in the world, right? She's activated and she's like looking through the house and like the couch has this big imprint on it. Like, so that means that Demi has been sitting there for days on end watching TV. It's like, it's not clean. There's food everywhere. Like, that is like this woman cannot leave the house. Like she really can't, like, because you would think that like, okay, when you have to switch every 7 days, when Demi is activated, it was like in the world, like what is she doing? And she's not really doing anything. And it's like she doesn't have any friends. Like it seems like she built her whole life around her career. And now that's over, she like doesn't know what to do
mm,
with her life. And that's really sad. So it's like I think the obvious of like body horror and like it's really crazy, like those things are there, but I feel like all of those other scenes where that stuff is not present, it really sells you on like how much this woman is struggling, but also like the reality of like this is what happens when you're not like investing in any other stuff. Like you're just kind of pouring all of your energy and your focus into your body and maintaining your beauty for your career. But at the end of the day, when that is gone, like what do you have? Like,
Yeah.
are you still happy? And I just felt like that stuff was really good. Like I like how they subtly kind of put that stuff in there.
It's not like an uh I want to say Caroline Forgot did an amazing job writing this picture. She herself said she began writing this movie in her 40s. When for a lot of women, it's that I guess those thoughts start as, am I pretty enough? Am I good enough? And her mental state led her to write it. And she also, and I love when directors go back to original properties or projects did it before and expand upon ideas. Like like this project was not just only inspired by her being in her 40s and going through change herself, but inspired by a short film she did like in 2014, and she was able to expound upon those themes and also correlate it to what she was going through now. Her film was Reality Plus, So I love when writers, directors, any kind of creative take themes that worked on previously and now have the opportunity and the budget to expand upon those ideas and concepts as well.
Yeah. I thought this was such a like cool idea and
Hmm.
a way to focus on the subject matter because, you know, when it comes to Hollywood entertainment, like older women don't really get the shine that or the exposure, the roles that younger women do. It happens a lot more in television than it does in
Hmm.
film. So I feel like it's very amazing, like cool, like that
Hmm.
Demi is able to lead this film and that it is about a person at that age. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she's a mother or a wife. Like this is like it's female rage. It's like this is what I'm going through. I'm struggling. Like I really respected that and love that right now it seems that like even though this year 2024 was like an okay year for movies. I do think the films that have come out have been really unique in terms of like perspective. Like we're
Hmm.
getting certain stories that we haven't really seen before, and I think that that's really cool. In terms of the writing, though, there isn't that much dialogue in this movie. Like the visuals are kind of like what is that to me is like the storytelling in terms of like how it's kind of being built out. But I do think that like the writing is a little that kind of there's something in there that to me felt a little flat because it's not really like you kind of get whatever you want to get from it. What I think it presents interesting points, but in terms of like how you should feel about those interesting points, they don't it doesn't seem like there is an answer for any of those things.
Yeah.
Like I think that it's like okay, the men are terrible and like yeah, like I got that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like because it is on the nose in terms of for the comedy sake of it, but I do feel like how we're supposed to feel about a person who perpetuates these insane beauty standards, who ends up becoming a victim to it, and then
Yeah.
has someone else, and create something else that is also following in that same cycle. What are we supposed to do? Like, are we, is it just like, well, this is just the way that it is? Or like, how do we navigate that piece? I don't know if she really followed through in terms of the ideas that she planted.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, the script was it was a little so-so, but I do think that overall it was really good. And oh, you brought up something that I forgot to talk about, but I also find it interesting that Margaret Qualley, she uses the rest of the activation serum to create a better version of her, which is like, so this is towards the end, which ends up just
Hmm.
being this monstrosity.
Yeah.
Um, but that also that to me also just spoke to that the fact that a lot of young people are starting to get a lot of procedures and stuff
Yeah.
done as preventative measures.
Yeah.
The fact that the character's supposed to be like 25 years old and she's doing all this stuff, like there are teenagers who are like trying to get preventative Botox. It's like insane. But I
Yeah.
do think that it's interesting that that her character is also perpetuating that same cycle of like of just augmentation because society says that if you're a woman, you have to be beautiful, and that is where your value is. Like you don't have any value outside of that. And so it's like you don't know what else to do once that starts to slip away, or even if it doesn't, just the idea of it like maybe slipping away at
Mm,
some point, that you're going to do it for those reasons. Like
yeah.
you're worrying, she does not care about what happens tomorrow. Like whatever consequences end up, you know, unfurling from her choices, that's Demi's problem, not hers. Like it's very like reckless abandon. Like just I will do whatever I have to do to stay beautiful
Here.
because no one's going to care about me
And
if I don't.
then they both did, because plenty of times Demi could like, you can stop this. You are like the main host body. And she was like, no.
Yeah,
So sorry. But
she
yeah,
refuses to do.
both of them were like fighting for control. Like the priority for her, like, oh, I just need to make it through New Year's, through this big
Hmm.
event, through the illusion of my fame, and then whatever happens, happens after that. Which is also, I think, how you mentioned, like, I remember, like, beauty TikTok, beauty Instagram, like, a lot of young girls are drawn into that. Which I feel like, I'm thankful that you and, like, my sisters, y'all's age group weren't, like, teenagers, weren't younger with all
Mm.
that going on. Cause I worry, like, I have friends with daughters. They're like, yeah, I don't like the internet because I have daughters. I don't want them to be exposed to certain things. Like, and, and I kind of told them, like, look, as a man, and especially as a black man, I was like slapped in the face with images like Tyson Beckford and everybody else, like for the longest. So I do get it, but it wasn't. He told me like about his daughter. I was like, oh, this is a really bad thing for like children, which
Hmm.
leads to all the stuff which kind of got covered in this movie. But yeah, and I like when the European and like particularly French directors have a really different cinematic eye and thought process. Kind of like the fact that this movie's kind of open ended for you to could draw like your own conclusions, not to the story. The story kind of is definite, but
Mm.
the themes and issues it's covering, it doesn't give you a clear definition. Like it wants you to here's the thoughts and concepts. Now discuss. Now go
Mm.
no think about it. Go analyze it. Whereas American movies really don't give you they don't entrust your intelligence enough to, let you have dialogues and conversations about their projects and the way the most French and European directors do.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that it's funny that this movie is very heavy-handed in terms of like what it's showing you, but in terms of like the messaging that
Mm.
is more obscure. Even though like some of the message is kind of obvious, but like I think that the other themes are something that you would have to like
Yeah.
think about for yourself. I think that the criticisms that I was hearing about this movie is that it really was like a style over substance type of thing, or it was kind of just regurgitating things that we already knew and just presenting it in a more like flashy way. I don't know how I feel about those critiques. I feel like this movie is just like a more intense version of Death Becomes Her, which is
Mm.
great
Yeah, yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Love that movie
yeah,
so much. That movie. And I don't even I see honestly those comparisons, I think it's
yeah.
fair. Like
Fair.
I loved Death Becomes Her, and I really like this movie too. Like, so to me, if someone's comparing that to that, like, I'm fine with it. I think that they're both bangers. Um, or even something like Sunset Boulevard, which is an older movie,
Yeah.
but about the same kind of themes.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't get enough of those movies where you have older actresses talking about something that is very relevant because it's something that they're experiencing in their own
Yeah.
lives. And I think that that's a good thing. Like I don't think that this was like style over substance. I feel like the style emphasized what the movie was trying to say. Even if you don't know exactly, I feel like whatever you get from it, like, is probably right. Unless you are a person who like hates women, then yes, your interpretation will be wrong. But everybody else, like, I just feel like, yeah, it's pretty accurate in terms of like, this is what the experience is.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not the only movie that came out last year that dealt those topics. I mean, we had Ugly with like was I guess Joey King, which kind of combines the idea of
Oh,
looks and beauty along with Divergent and like the Hunger Games, and it was really horrible.
that movie was bad.
So exactly. So if people are complaining about the this being style over substance in this movie, which is called The Substance, wink wink nudge nudge, if you didn't pick up on it, like Go watch the uglies. You watch the uglies and you find out this could have been a lot worse. Okay, because the uglies has no idea what it's doing. It's jam packed all those thoughts and topics and ideas and it's dealing with nature and human evolution and it just jam packs them in so horribly and it doesn't work. So hey,
Yeah, it doesn't. That movie was bad.
so yeah.
But um overall, I really did like this movie, but I think the third act is where it kind of lost me. Um, the body horror thing has always been like that was always a part of it, and I think it was very effective. Like there were certain scenes where I was like, this is disgusting, but there were also certain scenes where I was like, oh, this is actually funny. Like they're using it in a way where it's comedic, but also in a way where it's like gross out, like nasty. And I feel like towards the end, it just got very like there's movies that are funny, there's movies that are camp, and then there's movies that are like when you kind of tip over the camp and it just kind of becomes a little weird and a little corny a bit. And
Cringy.
I feel like the last part where they both are able to like come back, like they're both activated,
Mhm.
and they have that fight scene. Somehow they have superhuman strength. Like, where did that come from? Also, can we talk about the logistics of how this substance actually works? Because, like, how are they both able to be fully activated, fully present? I didn't know that was a part of it. And also, like, why wasn't younger Demi just like still like with like has Demi's consciousness? Why is it a completely different person?
Mhm.
I had questions about that, but it's science fiction. It's kind of whatever. I'll leave it. But in terms of like that fight scene where they were just like, how did you get so strong? Like what? You're like she yeeted old Demi like across the room, and I'm just like, where did that come
I
from?
mean,
Like
it's not hard to eat an old person across the room, though.
that far? You can kick someone that far? Really? You? Weird. And then also like when Demi becomes very old and like whatever, like she's like struggling to walk around the hallway, and then the next scene she's like running around town like getting the box, like trying to figure this out. Like, I had questions about that. But also the ending where the monstrosity is born and then it still goes to the New Year's Eve function
Mhm.
and is like on stage and everybody is kind of just fine with it. Like it takes so long for them to clock that like this is not well, first of all, it's not Sue. So let's start there. But like second of all, like this is what is this thing? Like you guys, no one is reacting normally to it. And maybe that was like I know that was like a choice, like they were intentionally trying to like maybe I guess play at the comedy of it a little bit
Mhm.
more. But for me, that did not work. I was just like, I am ready for this movie to end. This movie is very long, and I feel like it doesn't need to be. I feel like this
Yeah.
movie needs to be a nice 1 hour 45. I don't think it needs to be 2 hours and 22 minutes. That's insane. Like for what? But I feel like you really feel the drag at that part, especially. It goes on for a very long time. The blood is like splattering, whatever, for a very long time.
Yeah.
The ending is fine when she kind of come like when it's just her demi head that kind of scoops
Falls
its
to the
way back
star.
to the star. I was like, okay, I like that.
Mhm.
But in terms of like that whole scene at the New Year's Eve function, I was not that it really lost me because I was really like into it, but I feel like that piece, I felt like an immediate drop off in my energy levels of like being able to want to watch it. Because after a while, I was just like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to look at this thing. It's gross. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Certain scenes could have been done with like I do love the beginning montage of her star, her walking down the hallway. You see her along her career is, the scenes where Margaret is, interacting with the next door neighbor.
hmm
I deem was doesn't necessary because we all everybody thinks he's attractive. We don't need the next door neighbor. We don't need to spend time with the next door neighbor for him exclaiming how attractive she is. You know, wish we got a bit more with the older guy who thought Demi was beautiful before all that. Um, yeah, certain scenes could have been cut shorter. I think they could have expedited the scenes of her walking towards Like I like the fact that they reused the scene of her walking down the street every time she had to go get her new Botox stuff or whatever. But the length of the first initial journey there could have been halved, in
Hmm.
a way. Yeah, there are a lot of scenes they could have trimmed it down where it didn't have to take as long. So like the
Yeah.
inclusion of the boyfriend was unnecessary.
Hmm.
You hear all this noise in the house, you hear somebody falling. You're like, babe, are you okay? And that's it. Like he didn't need to be in there, stuff like
He
that.
had an amazing butt. I think
Um,
that's why he was cast.
so
That's my
hey.
personal opinion. My personal opinion is that, but there's like, I agree. Like, there were certain scenes that just were just like, why are you here? And also, please stop. Like, just cut it. The editing to me was so like well done in terms of like the feeling it gave you that when scenes started to drag, it really did. It
It
took me
takes
out
you
of
out of
it.
it, yeah.
It took me out of
Like
it.
the scene that didn't make sense to me the most, probably being on set, was the fact that she goes to film her show and she goes on set and they're breaking out a set, but she's in full gear and makeup. Like, so you walked on the set, you sat in a makeup chair, but everybody else on the crew is fired and doing something else, except for the makeup artist and the costume department, and they pull you full glam. And then you go on set, you have a grip breaking out equipment, and then he tells you need to go see the producer. Like what? Like you went through so many steps getting on set that nobody told you that. It wasn't until you get on scene to shoot like you go, oh, you got to go talk to Harvey. Like, really? Come on.
Yeah. But I think that
Oh,
that was also like was this like surrealist thing that kind of was like laid over the whole movie where you didn't know if like what you were watching was real because it didn't make sense.
yeah,
And sometimes it was, and sometimes it was like a dream. Like when she takes out the chicken leg,
I like that. Yeah, I did like that. The
but
chicken
it
scene.
was just her like going back into
Yeah,
like original Demi. I thought that was really cool,
yeah,
but during the moment I was like, wait a second, what is it? What's going on? Like,
yeah,
so it's just so I think that some of it was really intentional in terms of like how it was trying to like move the story or like make certain points. But
yeah,
there were other scenes where it's just like, no, this is real. It just doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
So there's that. Um, I also found the dancing scenes hilarious. Like her workout show, like that girl, no one's doing that and losing weight. Like
Yeah.
you're not even working out. Like this is
I
basically just
mean,
softcore porn. Like
it calls back to the '80s era when that was a thing. Like I think John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis did a movie where they're aerobics fitness thing, and people thought that was attractive. Olivia Newton-John, let's get physicals and aerobics thing. Like peak '80s, it was like Suzanne Summers and them being aerobic stuff. So it fit thematically with what they're
but the
doing.
aerobic stuff, like what Demi was doing in the beginning, to me,
Yeah,
that was like
yeah,
80s, like
yeah, yeah,
fun stuff. And I was
yeah,
so into it.
yeah.
What Margaret Qualley ends up
It's just
doing,
sex.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's not, this
Yeah,
isn't a workout show. Like,
yeah.
and who was catching these angles and how is
I
this morning
mean,
television?
it
Like
works
y'all were
but
showing
it
some
it
morning
works. It
television.
works though. Like we mentioned earlier with TikTok, like I was going through TikTok and then there's like some I want to say when white people do these things, urban fitness class, and like is this white girl up front? She's twerking like, "Let's go, ladies!" And she's twerking. I was like, "All right, that's like, what is this?" But yeah, it's a modern
What
thing.
is
I don't
this?
know. It's corny,
Is
but yeah,
it? I
yeah,
have not personally seen that yet, but it was funny. It was
yeah,
just like, girl, these aren't workouts. First of all,
yeah,
you're not even saying anything. You're just humping the floor at this point.
yeah.
Like,
So
at least give us some instruction. Anyways, but
yeah.
yeah. Overall, I thought this movie was really good. Like, I totally understand like why people were really into it, the hype about it.
Hmm.
I think it's really cool that this kind of movie is getting so much mainstream attention because this is one of those movies that you would be like
Yeah,
underground, like you're not like only if you know kind of movies, but like not the fact that it hit the mainstream this way is really cool. And I'm so glad that like Demi Moore is getting all the attention that she's getting. I feel like it's so well deserved.
yeah,
So
yeah. This is one of those movies that went past like film circles. Like,
yes.
so yeah.
Yeah, I hope it does well. It's nominated for Oscars and stuff.
Yeah.
I just hope it wins like makeup and what is it? Makeup and hair
Costuming and stuff like
costuming.
that. Yeah.
It should win that
Yeah.
because dope. The prosthetics
Yeah.
on point. So yeah.
Moving on to that, moving on from that, we go on to, of course, the biggest night in music, the Grammys. Crazy night, crazy night. Once, Shouts out to Beyonce. Finally, after years and years, she wins Best Album, and and she also wins Best Country Album of the Year. And there was a lot of issues, especially with the CMAs, and they weren't letting her in because she's a R&B slash pop star. She's not a country music act. That kind of gatekeeping kind of thing. But she won that, which was unexpected. But then her winning Album of the Year was amazing because you could tell she was trying to hold herself back on her joy, and it's something everybody has been. We would all want to see Beyonce awarded for. Like, to me, this is probably not her best project to get this award on, but the fact that she got the award, I have to like congratulate and be a bit of celebratory as like a semi stan, not crazy Beehive member, but Beyonce is that queen. She's Queen Bee for a reason. But yeah, you know, somebody likened it like I said, this not being her best project. Somebody likened it to Denzel finally winning an Oscar for Training Day instead of roles like Malcolm X. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like black people, we get
Mm,
it. Like black people, we get it. White people, I don't think will understand. They'll just say, "Oh, you got the award. Why does it
mm,
matter the circumstances?" So,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, someone said something about that earlier today. I was listening to something, but honestly, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like these award shows really mess up in terms
Mm-hmm.
of like how they award things and when they give awards. Like sometimes they get it right, but for a lot of time they don't get it correct. And
Mm-hmm.
so they have to kind of make up for it later on when there's public outrage, when people are like, why are these people with albums that aren't that good or that are good, but they're not better than like, listen, I love Harry Styles, but him winning best album of the year over Renaissance, I said, you need to
Mm-hmm.
stop. Like
Yeah.
you actually need to stop. Like whoever is voting for this, they need to be stopped. And I feel like that was a great injustice. So I feel like this year everyone was like wanting her to win. It was like when you looked in at the audience reaction around her, like people were crying. Like these artists who are big in their own right were crying when Beyonce won Album of the Year. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's how much it meant to them because it's like even when Adele won over Beyonce when she put out Lemonade, it was like this should have been you. Like for Adele to be like this should have been you, that's how deep this went.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fact that it finally happened, is Cowboy Carter her best album? No,
No.
it really isn't. But I feel like in terms of like her legacy and her as an artist, she deserved this moment, and I'm very happy that she got it. I kind of felt like she was gonna get it. I feel like at this point, it's like you have to give it to her. Like you can't make any more mistakes. This is it. So I'm very happy that she won. So happy that Kendrick the sweep that he had last
Five,
night.
5 wins. Man, that Canadian was sweating that whole night, bro. Man. And then I saw a video of like so when you watch award shows or any kind of live show, there are two different audio feeds. There's a live in-house audio feed and there's like the broadcast mix. And somebody posted the raw audio feed when he's going to accept one of his awards and the song is playing. And when it gets to A minor, the noise
Hmm.
in that room of everybody singing that line. And these are your peers.
Yes.
These are your peers. These are label execs. These are your bosses, bro.
Hmm.
Everybody singing out A minor out loud. While this man, this little short man from Cali, ruined your life for like 6 months. And he's also got the Super Bowl coming up soon. It's HBCU band season. I've heard HBCUs cover that song. Like, yo, they're on this man's head. Like, it's ridiculous.
I love it.
But
Love it. Couldn't love it more if I wanted to. Like, this is fantastic. I am obsessed with that. The fact that someone pointed out that this song is not even on an album, it's just a single. I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I
yeah.
forgot about the fact that this was not even on an album. Like,
Hmm.
the cultural magnitude moment that this song was last year, the fact that it literally destroyed someone's career, like that is power.
Hmm.
That's real power right there.
Yeah,
So, and he's playing at the Super Bowl next week. Can't wait for that. Like literally and
yeah.
living cannot like he and his speech when he was just like, rap is the most influential.
It is.
the most important
It
like
is.
genre. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah. Every
say it
every
louder for the people in the back,
and
please.
it's stereotypes us because every other genre, like you have country. Country has a billion categories. Rock has a billion categories. Rap and hip hop are just rap and hip hop.
Hmm.
You don't get the different genres that they are within the subculture of rap and hip hop like you do every other genre. They pigeonhole us like this is what you are, this is all you could be. So, Patrick getting his one over on this song works. And also shout out to what's her face? Chappell Rowan for actually
Hmm.
calling out a lot of the people who are in power
Yes.
that night. Like especially for her who is kind of a new artist. I love her back. She's kind of not unfiltered in um not unfiltered in how do I phrase this? In a Jennifer Lawrence way, as in being unfiltered, like as a quirky, like, ha, look at me, I'm so unfiltered. Ooh,
Hmm.
she's more for like, look, I'm just gonna give you my honest opinion. And most of her 9 times 10, Chaperone is right about her opinions. So
Yes.
yeah, and it's brave
Yeah.
for a young artist and a new artist at that, where your career is just getting established.
I love Chaperone. I have not listened to a single song that she's put out.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I don't
Like
care.
everything that she's been saying has been real. Like I feel like I think she's a little overexposed in terms of like being a little too honest to the
Yeah,
point where it's like I don't know. It hasn't harmed her career yet.
yeah.
But I just feel like she's like, I'm not gonna play by these stupid rules. Like, who made up these rules? Why should I do this?
Mm,
Let me be honest about what artists really have to go through in order to be just to make music.
mm,
Forget even being successful, like just making music. Like y'all do not give the support to the artists that you need to. I'm actually obsessed with her. I think she's fantastic.
mm.
I was a little sad that Billie Eilish didn't really get anything because Hit Me Hard and Soft is a great
Yeah.
album. So I was a little sad about that. But she'll be fine. She has Grammy, she has Oscars. Like
Oscars,
she'll be fine.
I think
She'll
she's
be fine.
getting acting roles too now, so she'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she'll be all right.
yeah.
Um, Other than that, let's move on to our next news story. Carla Sofia Garcon is one of the Best Actress frontrunners this year for her work in Emilia Perez. She had a host of tweets come out recently about
The
how she did
usual.
it, how she did in like the fact that there were a lot of Islam people in Spain and that George Floyd was basically a criminal. Why do people like it's hypocritical for people to care about him? Like you guys are saying that you care about George Floyd when he's done all these crimes. Like, isn't that a little weird? And like it's just it's I find it interesting. And there's someone did a video on this, so and I have to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but like where they talk about people who are in the queer community who have these very like conservative stances.
Yeah.
Now, Carla said she just did an interview where she was like crying and stuff, and she was just like, I haven't done anything wrong. People took my words out of context. Like, I haven't
Mm,
hurt a fly.
these are your words, though. This is your Twitter feed. What context is missing?
I'm not gonna rescind my Oscar nomination. And it's like, okay. But it's like, what do you mean? I don't know. It's different if she would just apologized for it. Like whether you thought it was sincere or not, at least she apologized. She apologized, and then she went on this interview and was like, I haven't done anything wrong.
So
So
her
like
apology was shit, basically.
yeah, so it's like you're not actually sorry about any of these things. And like even if you put out the statement, you probably wouldn't have been sorry. You're probably just sorry that you got caught, not
Yeah.
that you actually said those things. But for you to just be like openly like I didn't do anything wrong and y'all took the words out of context is wild to me.
The fact that she like this is weird for somebody who like lives in Spain who is shocked about a Muslims and mosque in Spain is hilarious because the Mediterranean, like all those religions spread really quickly within the ancient world. I kind of
Mm.
don't understand her thinking. It makes sense where a European city on the European country on the Mediterranean coast would have a lot of Muslims. That's how the religion spread. But it's dumbfounded to me. But it adds to the lot of litany of issues this movie has in particular.
Yeah, it didn't
So,
help. It did not
no.
help anything. Like the fact that this movie was already being contested is like, why is this here? Like, is this movie getting Oscars? It's not good.
Hmm.
To add the lead actresses tweets and all of this controversy on top of that,
Mm,
it's just like I don't know, it kind of makes you side eye the electioning body even more than you already probably did. It's
mm,
more just like this is why was this even up for anything? And then if it is up for something, like it did we not want to check what these people were saying before we were just like, hey, get it. I don't know. I don't know how the process works, so maybe that's not a part of their due diligence to like figure out like, oh, hey, is this person gonna have problems? Because at the end of the day, it is a campaign. Like once you get to the Oscars, it's like it's a competition. Like people are trying to win. Like every PR like place has a strategy of like how to get their person to win an Oscar. So like this is something that should have been thought about. This is something that should have come up and we should have figured out before we were, voting for this particular movie or for her. I think Zoe saw that and said that she was sad about it. I'm like, is it, girl, we'll
even
get you into a good movie. Don't worry.
and
Like,
it's weird because she went in on was it Fernanda Torres for
mm-hmm,
I'm Still Here,
mm-hmm,
because they're both two actors competing for that award. It's they're front runners in their category. But
mm-hmm,
even Fernanda Torres, when it came out, like Brazil has some weird racial issues. Everybody knows
mm-hmm,
that. And her being light-skinned Brazilian, she appeared in blackface in an old show from like 17 years ago, and she apologized for it. She didn't go and say, "Oh, I didn't
mm.
do anything wrong." She was like, "All right." I apologize for it. It kind of sucks. I guess this comes out now at the press of my career, but that's always going to happen.
It's always gonna
It's always
happen.
going to happen. So apologize for it. Like, I don't even care if you don't mean your apology, just apologize for it and just end it there. But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, Carla's like, fuck it. I'm just gonna dig myself a bigger hole, So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
piggybacking off a couple weeks ago, Neil Gaiman. I'm gonna mispronounce that name. I'm not gonna try to not pronounce it properly now anymore after those allegations have been revealed. So tying into his allegations and his lawsuits, Netflix has also decided not to renew his show, The Sandman, for uh for the third season. It'll end with this upcoming seventh season. But even beyond that, before these lawsuits came up with the creator slash showrunner, Netflix was already hesitant to continue it at all. Being which the show is also produced by Warner Brothers TV to be distributed on Netflix. So it's basically the conjunction of almost two studios deciding not to continue on a factor, not and continue on with a project. It kind of factored into it as well, as along with the current lawsuits. So
Yeah. I never watched The Sandman, but
no.
I heard it was good.
It's good. I've
So,
seen clips of it. I always kind of knew it might, even before this lawsuit stuff came up with him, I was kind of always wondering what the plan was for the show going beyond, especially how Warner Brothers is also restructuring a lot of their properties. Because remember, Sandman comes out of DC comic books before Warner Bros. So with them restructuring all their DC comic book stuff going forward with their universe, I was always wondering how this would affect Sandman, even though Sandman isn't really like a superhero character. But I always figured he'd be kind of be involved in that shakeup in some way. So
mm,
I guess part of this is also the amount of money they're also spending on the show. It's not really cost effective for them.
mm,
So a bunch of different things happening at the same time led to the need to not renew the show anymore. So
yeah. I feel like the allegations were just like another
they were just the
pile on of
last
like,
The
we're
last one.
done.
Yeah,
We're
we're
done.
done.
We're done
Yeah.
with this.
So, yeah.
So there's that. Okay. What's our last story?
It's a doozy. Ooh, this is a doozy.
Diddy
Mm,
accused of drugging and groping aspiring male musician in a new lawsuit. This man has 50 lawsuits, like it won't end.
mm,
But the new suit concerns a John Doe who had aspirations of becoming a rapper and singer. In 2015, the 23-year-old was scheduled to open for a popular musical artist at a series of Los Angeles nightclubs. But prior to his performance, Doe was informed that Combs would be in attendance, and should the performance go well, Combs would consider signing him to Bad Boy Records. Now, I guess there was a club there. I mean, sorry, there was an after party and there were entertainers who were there who were taking drugs. And one of Combs' associates handed him a drink and told him that it was from Diddy, and he realized that he had been drugged, and he was witnessing Combs and his entourage getting in a group of sex with other attendees, and then he woke up to Diddy groping him, and and he believes that Diddy was performing oral sex on him.
Mm.
Oh, the lives that this man has destroyed. Like, I just,
Yeah.
when will it end?
Yeah. Yeah, I know right now, his team put out a statement saying he can't respond to every new publicity stunt, even respond to claims that seem ridiculous or false. Um, yeah, I can understand. I don't know the validity of it, but the for not I don't the volume of which these have come out with, it's a lot, you know. And he's in jail still, and his trial is in May for the sex trafficking racketeering charges. You know, with people like Diddy, is they like you don't get caught on the harm you do to like regular people, like this man here and the multiple women who've been victims of him. You always what starts the trail is always the money stuff. And that's what caught him initially was the racketeering.
Hmm.
And once the racketeering and stuff got involved, sex trafficking charge came up. And once the sex trafficking charge gets up, it opens the floodwork for almost every victim to reveal their truth. Like people forget, like they didn't get guys like Al Capone. They didn't get these big monsters on the illegal activities they're doing. They got them on money. And for once they got them on money, they were able to get them on everything else.
Hmm.
So yeah, I always go back to one episode of Making the Band or something with Diddy, and he's on the phone with somebody, and he hangs it up, and he basically says, "I'm the man. Whatever I want, I can get it." And
Hmm.
that seemed to have been his mantra for everything. Like my dad tells me stuff about when, living in New York and hearing Diddy like throwing parties on college campuses and overbooking or overselling tickets, stuff like
Hmm.
that. There seems to be
Hmm.
really no moral consciousness for certain things when it comes to this man, and has been like apparently has been like that since he was at like Hofstra and stuff like that. So it's not a new thing at all.
No,
So
it's just, it's crazy that it took so long for all of this stuff to come out, like, and for there to be like direct consequences to it. Um, but I think that's the reason why he kept going is because he hadn't gotten caught yet.
yeah,
So he just felt like emboldened to continue doing these crimes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that, what was that statement from the lawyers? Like, what are you even talking about?
No,
Like, y'all are
my
terrible.
client can't respond to every
Yeah.
false and silly claim. Like, lawyer, you should have just kept quiet. Like,
Yeah, like
honestly.
you didn't need to respond to this.
Yeah.
Like,
It reminds me of Jay-Z's, when him and they both got a lawsuit a couple months ago, and Jay-Z did the same thing. I was like, sometimes you just gotta take the bullet and keep quiet. And if you're innocent, your innocence will be revealed.
yeah,
So,
that's how I feel.
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so let's talk about what we've been watching.
I've been watching, I'm kind of catching back up on my Korean drama, Korean movies kind of thing. I am currently watching, or I have finished watching a a movie called Midnight Runners. Kind of about two, guys at University of Police Academy, which I didn't know in like Asia and other countries, become a cop is like a 4-year thing. You got to go to university for it. I wish that happened here instead of like a 6-week training course, you know. But yeah, so they like college students like train to become police officers, and through the process, they have a friendship and they see somebody get kidnapped. And like at this point, they're sophomores and they say, F it. We're training to be police officers. We know what's going on. Let's try and we have only a couple. We are ones who witnessed a kidnapping. We have short time to solve this, to rescue these women. And, they go and rescue the women, all those issues. And even the fact that they're teachers, like, you shouldn't do this, leave it to professionals. The other cops finish all their other cases. And in a month, we can help save these women. And these guys, like, they're younger than us, a month might be too late. They'll be dead. As
Mm.
they take it upon themselves to solve this case. It's kind of like a very much action kind of buddy cop movie, and I thought it was really good. And it's two Korean actors who I've loved their work watching. So yeah, Park Sol Yoon. I remember watching him in Itching Class. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. And What's Wrong with Secretary Kim? So it's getting to the point where I'm actually recognizing the actors and their other
That's
projects.
good.
It's really weird. But so yeah, like he's kind of one of my favorite Korean actors at the moment. But so yeah, good movie, fun movie, and yeah.
That's good. Um, I watched two like SNL documentaries because they're celebrating their 50 years of being on
Mhm.
in our lives.
Yeah.
Um, but the first one was Ladies and Gentlemen, SNL and Music. So that one was done by Questlove and it was really good.
Mm.
I love when he does documentaries. So it kind of talked about like the importance of every musical guest, and how the musical guest was like reflecting the changing times and how SNL changed and evolved, how performances evolved, and how like the first person who was on it was Billy. I'm not gonna remember, forget his name now.
Billy Idol,
No,
Billy
Billy.
Joel,
No, he's a black man. Billy.
Ocean.
Why is it not clicking? He did music with the Beatles, so that's how I know who he is. But like, yes, he was like an R&B singer back in the day. Anyways, I really want to remember. Oh, I hate that I can't remember. Okay, but yeah, he was like the first musical guest SNL had back in 1975. And then, or was it Willie? Oh, crap. But yeah. And the fact that like hip hop, the first televised like hip hop performance was on SNL, and like
Mm.
how hip hop and black music has been like very instrumental in terms of like the development of the musical performances and stuff, and how black people were starting to become a part of the like main cast, and they had all of the old members from SNL on there talking about their experiences with that. But yeah, like every SNL used to be the thing to like break artists.
Yeah.
Like that's how influential it was. Now maybe it still has that effect. I don't know how many people are still watching SNL, but I remember like when like Lana, Adele, like people like that were Frank Ocean were like popping up on an SNL. And it
Mm.
was like, oh, who are these people? I don't know who they are. And then they ended up being like the biggest stars ever. So like, yeah, it definitely had that effect. And like having like really cool bands like Rage Against the Machine and Nirvana and all these like they were like tastemakers of their day, SNL back in the day. I don't know what's going on right now, but like back in the day, that's how much influence they had. So that was really cool. And again, Questlove is really good at putting together these documentaries. So I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. And then I watched another one that was like a docu-series about like it was like the history of it, but like the first episode was about all of the old members and some of the new ones, their first auditions, how they got on the show and stuff, what it meant for some of these people like Tracy Morgan
Mm.
or yeah, or Ego Nua, I can't pronounce her last name, but she's on SNL right now and she's great. But like having those type of people who were like, well, we saw Eddie Murphy on it, and so like that gave us like that made us want to be on the show. And so that the influence again that SNL had back in the day was really cool. And like how these actors or these comedians went on to be great actors, and the people who didn't get on the show ended up being like extremely famous and they're very successful right now.
Yeah.
Like Donald Glover auditioning for SNL and not getting it, and like him being the biggest
Keenan,
thing
I
ever.
think Keenan Thompson got it over him, but Keenan Thompson was always famous anyway. So
Yeah, he started off on TV, so like yeah.
yeah,
So that was really cool.
yeah.
Watching that. So yeah, it's interesting and I laughed a lot and I felt like I remember what like SNL was to me when I was growing up, like Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Amy
Mm.
Poehler, Tina Fey, like not oh sorry, Adam Sandberg, like The Lonely Island, that moment,
Hmm.
like that was my SNL.
What the dude from Ted Lasso, Jason
Jason
Sudeikis. Yeah,
Sudeikis, like
yeah,
prime SNL, it was so good.
yeah.
Like every single week, like that. just like the writing and the skits. And I feel like that was a good point of it too, because they actually did an episode about the writers who write the show.
Yeah.
And they were talking, and I know Tina Fey had mentioned like back in my time, like you would get clowned on basically. Like people would like eviscerate your scripts in front of you, and that would help make it better.
Yeah.
And then she was like,
Mhm.
but they don't do that now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah. And I don't know. I think that's also why now, like, SNL doesn't create stars like they once did anymore.
hmm
Like, I don't know who does this show anymore. Like, I know the
hmm
mainstays, like I mentioned Kenan Thompson, but Kenan Thompson has been famous my whole life.
Yeah.
But now SNL is like, oh, I don't got to hunt out for movie roles or TV roles. I can just do this every week and be the longest
hmm
running cast member on the show and make money. And I think he had like a spin-off show, but like for him, it's whatever. Then you have like uh the Yost and Michael Shea who do the weekend update. They're the only three other people I know on the show. Because at least with those two doing weekend update, they're allowed to like write their own stuff
hmm
and throw stuff. The rest of the cast, like the last 15 years, almost past like you mentioned Sandberg and like Jimmy Fallon, like those people. Like I don't know anybody on the show anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's gone. It's like if you actually watch some of the sketches, because like there are people who I really like who have hosted SNL.
Yeah,
So I would watch it for them. But like when you when you watch the sketches, like the writing has gone down. Like it's
yeah,
not funny.
yeah,
Like you're not even getting like a solid chuckle. You're getting
mhm,
like a huh at best.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just the writing is not good. And I feel bad for the writers who are on the show now. Like,
mhm,
but I think the atmosphere is so much different. Like maybe people are being more like intentional not to hurt feelings or whatever, trying to like foster a healthier environment. But what that means is that like you're not getting the proper like treatment in terms of like how to get a sketch from being just okay to being like something that is memorable.
yeah,
Not only because the performer who's performing is great, but because the writing is great. And SNL will give you like one or two good sketches in like a season of television.
yeah,
When back in the day, like it was hit after hit, hit after hit after hit. Like there are sketches that are burned into my memory
yeah.
because the writing was so good and because the performances were great. So it's like, I don't know.
And it wasn't even like the actors, and it wasn't even the talent themselves. Like you remember the characters from their sketches.
Yes.
Like, like you remember when Will Ferrell would come up as Trebek, and then he would know that the guy would go back with the guy who always played Sean Connery. Those two going at it.
Mm-hmm.
You remember a couple sketches like what's one, um, the Bee Gees sketch with Sandberg and Justin Timberlake. You remember those kind of things. You
Yeah.
remember Will Ferrell's stuff. Him. You remember Maya Rudolph. You remember Kristen Wiig's sketches. Like you remember those
Iconic sketches,
characters.
yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah, it's unfortunate that SNL is where it is at right now because what it was before was really great.
yeah.
But I watched that and then I was watching the Gilmore Girls.
Of course.
It kind of fell apart as the seasons went on, but those earlier seasons were really solid. I really liked that. But they did like a reunion special called A Year in the Life, which
Mhm.
came out in 2016. And it was terrible.
Really?
It's bad, like really bad. Like I couldn't believe how bad it was. Like it has the same writers and creators who did the original series, but like wow, like it was just not good. And I was shocked because I was like, you have the same people involved. Like everyone came back for the show. So like why isn't it what it was back in the day? I don't know, but it's not good. It's kind of just like Gossip Girl when it came out was great. Tried to do it again, wasn't good.
Hmm.
I think there's certain shows that you just can't recreate whatever that thing was.
They're
Like,
trapped in like time. Yeah.
don't make an OC reunion unless they did it already. Don't make another one of those.
Yeah.
Or One Tree Hill. Just leave it.
I don't know. I think why that probably didn't do as well is probably they're also trying to. They haven't done the show since 2007, and they're
Yes.
trying to still write the characters with those sensibilities, which don't work anymore, and still
I
trying
know.
to repeat everything. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it from us. We hope that you're doing well and take care of yourselves. Make sure to check all of our social media, support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.